It is 6 o'clock. We're on the second floor of City Hall for the Common Council meeting. Agenda's been posted. Media has been notified. Clerk, please take the roll call.
David Holt.
Here.
Stephen Jopek.
Here.
Eileen Daniel.
Here.
Kieran Mikulowski.
Here.
Gerald Anderson. Thomas Barnett.
Here.
Tom Kelly.
Here.
Leanne Felton.
Here.
Chris Hannes.
Here. We do have quorum. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to number 4, which would be public comment. We have Lauren from the chamber.
Red is on. There we go. You'd think I'd remember that by now. My name is Lauren Sackett. I'm the CEO of the Rhinelander Area Chamber of Commerce. The Rhinelander Chamber is Rhinelander's destination marketing organization and contracted tourism entity. As room tax is on your agenda this evening, I thought it would be good to share a very brief background of the last several months. I began contract discussions in December of 2021 as a contract would be expiring. I was pushed off continually over the course of several months, and as elections passed and positions changed, I persisted to try to square away the contract. Late last June, I presented at a city work session as it relates to room tax, what room tax is, what the chamber does with the within the tourism realm, our typical program of work, and all the projects we had coming up. In August, City Council approved a ordinance change, one of which was to remove the chamber, DRI as having 3 voting positions on the committee. Initially a change that made sense to me, but has since proven to be a little difficult. It was also made clear to me that rather than the chamber having a contract with the city itself, we would be contracted with the RTMC, the Rhinelander Tourism and Marketing Committee, the room tax decision-making body. Between August and November, I spent several months working towards our TMC approving a contract with the chamber to continue our work. Along the way, we had a lot of opposition and roadblocks. Since then, November of 2022, after a lot of lengthy discussions, a 3-year contract was approved to have the chamber continue in this role and execute spending as it relates to the rooms tax. A 2023 budget was also approved. We are doing a lot of work within the tourism realm and have a lot of projects that have taken place the last several months. We have a new website, we updated the community branding, we launched a sports marketing campaign, and we were a nominee for a state tourism award. We have numerous projects in the pipeline. This year we hope to have 4 regional travel writers visiting our community. We have several special events that we're working towards bringing in the next 12 months and other new types of marketing that we're working on. We are accomplishing a lot, but I wanted to share that it's been a challenge. We need a qualified and knowledgeable city lodger on the committee to help provide traveler insight and guide our future plans. In the Rhinelander Tourism and Marketing Committee, we have a great partnership between Rhinelander and Pelican, and I would love to see that partnership continue to thrive with the common goal of bringing more visitors to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Erin Skinner.
Hi, I'm Erin Skinner. I'm the Director of Operations for Ruhr Development. We own and operate the American Hotel here in Rhinelander. Prior to this position, I was a General Manager of hotels for 15 years in the Rhinelander area. While the committee has changed its name over the years and state statutes and city ordinance have been adjusted during this period, but the main goal of the committee has been the same, to promote tourism and market the Rhinelander area to those who that travel to and stay over in our city. For most of the last 10 months or so, the committee has been in a bit of a holding pattern. Rather than working on bringing more people to the area to spend money in our shops, restaurants, gas stations, bars, and hotels, we've had to spend hours in meetings discussing semantics and minute details of a working agreement that has been in place with the chamber for years. While I understand and 100% agree that all committees must have accountability, we also need to get the work done. We did not have a signed contract between the city and the chamber until late last fall, which put marketing efforts behind where they should be. With this type of marketing and promotion, we need to be thinking 9, 12, 18 months and more into the future, not spending time asking a chamber director how much she spends on office supplies, which is not part of room tax's business or concern. We finally got the contract signed late last November, thanks in large part to David Holt, who came to the meetings with a reasonable voice and understanding of the group's mission and excuse me, and a grasp of the necessity of getting this done so that we could move forward and make sure Rhinelander continues to be top of mind for travelers. Along with getting the contract signed, the city had some changes in the ordinance regarding who would be filling the seats, something that has happened a few times over the years. All of these seats have been filled except the city lodging representative. Excuse me, I'm not a public speaker. The person who is the voice of the 5 hotels in town that contribute virtually all of the money to the room tax funds on the city side. The seat is not only required by Rhinelander's own ordinance, it is also spelled out clearly in the Wisconsin state statutes. It is now April 10th and that seat has still not been filled, despite the fact that I have submitted twice my interest in this position. The hotels in the city of Rhinelander still do not have a voice on the room tax committee. It is my opinion that the mayor is looking to stack committees with his friends and acquaintances so that there are no dissenting opinions, and I know some of you feel the same way. That's not how this should work. The group should have a knowledgeable person on it with a vested interest in seeing that all of our hotels in our city succeed and thrive, which in turn leads to more dollars going to our businesses as well. The mayor's made it clear to me that he has no interest in seeing me continue in this committee, and I firmly believe that's because I have a voice, and I'm not afraid to use it in order to ensure the dollars that are collected from the lodging entities in town are used in the appropriate manner as spelled out by the statute. The money that this committee is charged with spending is to put heads in beds of the establishments that pay into it, and ultimately into the restaurants, bars, shops, and gas stations that those travelers frequent while they are here. I'm not here demanding that I'm placed in the vacant seat. I'm happy to turn the reins over. I am, however, demanding that we get a city representative to represent the hotels in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, and I might butcher the last name, Brecky?
You got it.
Cool, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Brecky. I'm a representative of the RTMC. I'm a voting member on the committee from the town of Pelican. As you guys likely know, there's 5 voting members that come from the city. There's 2 from the town of Pelican and 1 from the town of Pelican. I'm also here to talk about the agenda item I believe it is, specifically the lack of a hotel representative on the committee. At the last meeting we had, I simply asked our mayor, towards the end of the meeting, why he would not appoint Erin, who's put her name in twice. And the reason he gave was, I want new blood on the committee. And when council has given you that appointment power, that does carry some weight. I mean, there is some weight given to that, certainly. But it's also created some issues, some problems, and maybe a little confusion. I'll just mention quickly. In holding that seat open, it is against city ordinance. The city ordinance does state there shall be a hotel representative on the committee. It also is against state statute. There's a state statute that states that a tourism commission shall have a representative representing the hotel and motel industry on it. Excuse me. Also, if you just look at it from a standpoint of fairness, as Aaron said, I wish Brecky's Resort could say we put all the money in the pot, but we do not. Hotels put approximately 85–90% of the money in the pot where they're spending. They do deserve a seat at that table, and that seat is not being given to them at this time. Also, just from a practicality standpoint, at our last meeting, Aaron was there as a representative, just as a citizen, actually, not as a representative. And there were at least 3 occasions in that meeting where someone asked a question. Aaron was the only person in the room who knew the answer. If you're going to have a tourism committee, most of which of the money being put into that pot comes from hotels, you need a qualified hotel representative on the committee. It's just that simple to function properly and do the work properly. And then, as has been said, the goal is to bring people in. You'd want a qualified hotel representative to do the work, to bring people in, to replenish the money in the pot that you're spending, to bring the people in the first place. That's the goal. And everyone benefits, obviously. Everyone in town benefits. Every business is touched by tourism, certainly. And then just one thing very briefly I just kind of wanted to mention is there was that idea of wanting new blood on a committee. And I think there's some benefit to that. Let's get some new blood on the committees. But I think that's been achieved. I think we might be to the point where we're beating a dead horse on that issue. There's 5 representatives from the city. At our last meeting, 3 of them were attending their first ever meeting of the RTMC. One of them was the mayor, and the 5th was an empty chair, which is supposed to be filled by a hotel representative. So I would argue that new blood has been achieved. And at some point, holding the seat open waiting for someone else to walk through the doors. At some point, it just doesn't make any sense. We have a qualified applicant. It's not like there's 30 hotels in town where we can just sit and wait and wait and wait. We're against state statute. We're against city ordinance. We have a qualified applicant, and I think it's time to get that seat filled. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a Clint regarding the Conservation Fund.
Yeah, thank you. This is an opportune moment to, I'm going to pivot a little bit, but it's talking about something that does support the tourism industry. So, Chair and members of the council, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Clint Miller, and I work for the Conservation Fund. We are the owner of the Pelican River Forest, which is a joint effort between the Wisconsin DNR and the Conservation Fund. Pelican River Forest is a working, privately owned forest that comprises 70,000 acres of diverse forest land in southeastern Oneida County. It lies between the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest to the northeast and to the county forest to the southwest. Since 2000, vertically integrated forest management companies have divested tens of millions of acres of forest land across this country, which has led to forest fragmentation, negative changes in forest management practices, and diminished public access to land. The Conservation Fund is a nonprofit dedicated to conserving working forest land that is open to public recreation and managed for sustainable forestry. The Pelican River Forest property was purchased by us in November of 2021. The Conservation Fund's goal for the Pelican River is pretty simple. Secure the woods, meaning we keep long-standing commercial forest property available for harvest. Wildlife, provide habitat for non-game and game species. Protect water, that is the headwaters of the Wolf and the Wisconsin rivers. And then protect that Northwoods way of life, the hunting, the fishing, the ATV, the snowmobile use, hiking, cross-country skiing, that is so important to the residents and the tourists alike. Conservation Fund accomplishes its mission by purchasing lands, establishing permanent conservation easements, and then selling those lands via auction or third-party broker, with the easement restrictions remaining in place for all future landowners. It's like a homeowners association covenants. This strategy keeps the land in private hands, on the tax rolls, and with strong legal protections that ensure the public access and sustainable forest management. There are two phases to the conservation, or to the Pelican River Forest, two conservation easements, and those terms include opening a total of 70 miles of interior public roads that haven't been open for nearly a decade. 20 miles in phase 1 and 50 miles in phase 2. Those are for vehicles for over half of the year. To maintain and prepare for these roads for public use, the Conservation Fund is setting aside a total of $1.5 million for the easement, from the easement sale revenues and a road endowment that will be held by a local community foundation. The earnings of that fund will help defray the costs of road maintenance because of the increased public use, which is the sole responsibility of the landowner or any future landowner. The easement also requires snowmobile and ATV trails that exist at the time the easement is signed to be memorialized in that easement. That means any existing snowmobile trails and on the Pelican River Forest will remain unchanged. We've been working the last couple of years with local partners to identify new ATV and UTV trails that will connect with existing routes outside of the property. It is our intent to have these routes memorialized in the phase 2 part of the conservation easement so they are secured forever. To ensure the quality of the forest management, a forest management plan is required for the property and must be approved by the DNR. The Conservation Fund is certified by the Sustainable Forest Initiative and has been responsibly harvesting timber since acquiring the land in 2021, and we will continue to harvest more than 2,000 acres this coming year. We look forward to completing the conservation of this private working forest so that it can support Wisconsin's forest products industry, as well as the state's water, wildlife, and outdoors way of life. I hope that you will join us in this endeavor and pass Resolution 2023-9 that has been put forward in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Ron from the Pelican Forest.
Hi, good evening. Ron Eckstein. I live at 5059 Sunset Drive in the town of Pelican, and I've lived there for 47 years. I spent my career in natural resources management, and in retirement, my passion is to work with conservation of forests. And so I support the Pelican River Conservation Easement. I routinely attend the Governor's Council on Forestry, which is a group of industry folks, university folks, of big landowners, small landowners. There's 18 representatives that represent all aspects of the forest products industry. And that group did sign a letter supporting the easement. And so it's well supported by the forest products industry, as well as the outdoor recreation industry. Both of those are extremely important to many counties in the north, especially Oneida County. I volunteer with several local groups, a group called Partners in Forestry, the Wisconsin chapter of the Wildlife Society, and the Northwoods Land Trust. And those groups fully support this easement. This easement is probably number 8 or 9, depending on how you count it, of these kind of easements across northern Wisconsin in the last 15 years. All of them have gone through really without a hitch. They're well supported by the counties in which they occurred. They range from just the smallest one was a couple hundred acres to one that was close to 68,000 acres in size. And they all are working, they all are fulfilling what the easement said. They remain in private lands, forest products are being harvested, outdoor recreation is occurring. If you're interested, you can look on the DNR website under Forest Legacy, and you can review some of these easements that occurred. So I do support the conservation easement on the Pelican Forest. Thank you much.
Thank you. We got Brent Aylesworth for room tax.
Hi, I'm Brett Aylesworth. I manage Rhinelander Ice Arena. We bring in some tourism in the winter. I'm also former president of the Rhinelander Chamber of Commerce, probably 6-7 years ago. Served on the room tax committee as well. Says we're looking for a qualified candidate to fill the room tax committee from a lodger. The most qualified candidate sitting in this room, she spoke to you. There's nobody more qualified than that. The argument about new blood, great. But as Dan said, I think there's a lot of new blood already there. There's not another lodger or hotelier in the city who wants this position. I think the mayor has reached out to some of them and they turned him down. So we're at a point now where there's one who wants to do it. We're not appointing her. She has the most experience probably ever in the room tax committee world. And for some reason we got a hold up, and I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what the reason is, but other than the ordinance says the mayor gets to appoint that position, that seems to be the holdup. But I hope that you guys can consider, and the mayor can consider, and the council, or the council can do something about getting Erin Skinner appointed to the room tax committee, because she's certainly the most qualified candidate.
Thank you. I have Mike, I believe, Screwball, if I'm pronouncing that right, regarding Eagle
That's
Street.
Mike Screwball, I think I signed in by accident. I'm contesting a snow shoveling ticket later.
I could call you on you at that point. I have Jim Davis.
Hello, my name is Jim Davis, and I'm here on some problems that I had in my tavern. And we had some problems with one of the bartenders there, and we've had the police officers visit my place 7 times, and there was only one person. They've seen all the other licenses, but they keep showing up looking for licenses, and they all know that all my bartenders are licensed. The one actually had her permit to get her license. She just hadn't gotten it yet from City Hall, so they give her a fine. Okay? All my other bartenders have a license. We had also some problems after that. A lot of stuff's going on at Porky's too in Rhinelander. We had some problems with the fire inspection after the Dinky Diner burned, which I feel bad about. I really do. Our building's about 100 years old. Okay? There are some things that need to be done. I got a brand new landlord, I just signed a new lease, and he's gonna do all the work in there that the fire department is asking for. I talked to him, and he's gonna have Gaber over there as soon as possible, and we've already started to do some of the things that the fire chief asked. He did a real thorough investigation at our place, so I congratulate him on the job he did there. But we gotta have a little time to get this stuff done, you know? You can't just boom and wave a wand and it's over, you know? So them are the things that I wanted to talk about, and I don't like the police officers coming every day for something. It seems like they're coming all the time. And that's just in the last month or two. Not just because of the fire at Dinky Diner, that was brought up when certain people came, which I understand. They want every place to be safe. Well, I own a tavern here and I want it to be safe too. I just moved back here 4 years ago and I took over a bar again here. And I want it to be safe for everybody. But I want the same treatment for everybody in this town, and I know that isn't true because I have people, friends that own a bar that are really good friends, okay? And I know the treatment they got, so it hasn't been the same, okay? Well, no matter how you want to look at it, it's fact. So I just want to be treated like everybody else. Our little bar, which ain't very big, and the guy's going to remodel it, make a nice bar out of it for everybody. But he needs a little time to do it. He just bought it 2 months ago. And then we were threatened about getting shut down and all this. So we're doing whatever we can until we can get Gaber in there. Gaber Electric's going in there. And I had another guy look at it, and we're going to get everything taken care of that the fire department, fire chief wants, and what the city wants in order to make it a safe place for everybody to go. That's about all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Tom Giroux.
Tom Giroux, 604 Reich Street here in the city of Rhinelander, standing to attest to the Pelican River Forest easement resolution. I'm not going to repeat what Clint and Ron talked about. I thought they did a very good job talking about the benefits of the easement. But I am going to speak to why is this important to the city of Rhinelander. I've had people say, well, you know, it's out, outside of town. It doesn't have anything to do with us. Well, contrary. The property, if you look at the map in front of me here, is directly adjacent to the city of Rhinelander. In fact, you can ride your bike to it. And as a kid, I used to ride my bike to go rabbit hunting and fishing out to the nearest public land I could find. And so it's really important. And there's a lot of people in Rhinelander that live in rental units and don't have access to land. And it's really important. Clint talked to the benefits of having the land open. But it's such a large piece of property that unless you open some of those interior roads, you won't see much of the property on foot. So opening those interior roads, I think it's in total for both easements, 70 miles of road, will be a benefit to people who like to hunt and fish. And that brings me to the final thing that the resolution talks to. The two economic drivers for our county are tourism and forestry. Nice to see a really lively debate about who's going to be on our room tax committee, but let's fill those rooms with people that come to visit our area. I need to remind you that we have the premier area resort tax in this city, and that has enabled us the ability to resurface over 10 miles of streets, and that was a number from several years ago. We're adding miles every year, and it's because those visitors come here, spend their tourist dollars, we get the extra dollars that help us with the roads. So it's a huge benefit to the city of Rhinelander, and I think this resolution will send a clear message to our county board and to our state representatives that we value this public land. It's been in forestry forever, its best use is forestry. Forest fragmentation that Clint talked about is a real threat to the forest industry in Wisconsin. It's important that we keep this in one large block and in perpetuity. The price of wood is not going to go down. It's only going to increase over time, which is only going to feed our economy. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a Jesse Urquhart from Olson Lane.
Good afternoon. I wanted to discuss the new city ordinance 2023-2, payment of special assessments. I really only had two items to bring up. On the second and third bullet point, it states, in the appropriate case, the city will levy special assessments, so on and so forth. My only question is, what would be deemed an appropriate case? Maybe I missed it, but I didn't see it anywhere in the new city ordinance what an appropriate case would be deemed. And then moving on to number 9, the special assessment cost may include the direct and indirect construction costs of the resulting indirect construction cost, the resulting damages, bonds, reasonable charge of services for the administrative staff of the city, cost of any architectural, engineering, and legal services. My assumption here is that the city will pick who they want to do the road construction items and anything like that. The people who live on that road won't have a say as to who gets picked for this or that. And the people, not that the people on the road should have a say necessarily in who the city votes on and who to issue those contracts with, but just keep in mind that it's the people who live on those roads that will end up having to pay a part of that special assessment. And we don't get a say in it, so just be mindful of that. Overall, I do want to state that I do believe this is a huge improvement over the original city ordinance. So I just want to put that out there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I have Austin Zarder, the city clerk.
Hi, everybody. Austin Zarda, City Clerk, 720 Bruns Drive. Just wanted to give my kind of reoccurring turnout update for this past election. So I'm really happy to announce that we had 40% of registered voters who came out to vote, which is the highest turnout since 2016's April election. And so we all know that was a presidential primary for both major parties. So for us to come even near that is incredible. I want to congratulate Alderperson Eileen Daniel because District 7 had the record-breaking turnout of 46.3%, so she gets the crown for this one. Yeah. And again, we've had great raving reviews of our Badger Book system. Come Wednesday, it took me about 10 minutes to close the election out, whereas before it would take dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of both mine and Mariah's time. So it's been absolutely fantastic in that regard. Again, just wanted to thank all city staff, the team at the Hodag Dome, our wonderful poll workers, and the voters for contributing to by far the smoothest election that we've had so far in my time at the city clerk's office. We've had 6 elections, but who's counting? Now we all, especially at the clerk's office, get to enjoy 11 months of election-free life, but be ready because we have 4 elections next year, including a presidential. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Any of the alders have any public comment? Mr. Barnett?
I have 2. First one is, to whom it may concern, my name is Jennifer Marshall. I own Northwoods Pets in the city of Rhinelander. I would have liked to have been at the meeting tonight, however, I have a teenager and she has my car. My primary concern at this moment is the use of the funds of the Premier Resort Tax. How much was collected in 2022? How much of that has been used towards promoting Rhinelander as a vacation destination? Considering that the Tourism Marketing Board was taken away from the Chamber of Commerce and made part of the city, I am curious as to why no appointment has been made when there is an experienced candidate available with Aaron Skinner. We are only 6 weeks away from the unofficial start of the vacation season. Many local businesses, including mine, depend on tourism dollars throughout the summer to support us during the winter months when revenue drops. I am very curious as to what the mayor has planned for those tax dollars in the next 6 weeks and going forward to drive more tourism to our city. Logic dictates that the Tourism Marketing Board would be better served back underneath the Chamber of Commerce umbrella. If the mayor cannot move past personal preferences and issues and appoint Aaron Skinner to the post, we business owners ask that the board be returned to the chamber. Next one is from, hello, I am sorry we are unable to make it to the council meeting tonight, but we did want to express our concern regarding the seemingly slow-moving process appointing a room tax committee members. As a downtown business owner, having a working committee supporting tourism in Rhinelander directly affects our bottom line. We pay our Pratt tax and we rely on increased business during the summer. I hope council and the mayor can work together to get this committee up and running smoothly as it has in the past. Thank you, Melinda and Jaron Childs of Childs Frame Company.
Anyone else for public comment? Nope. Oh.
Hi there. My name is Lisa Billigan. I'm the general manager of the Comfort Inn in Rhinelander, as well as the Roadway Inn in Rhinelander here. And I would like to say I would, too, support Aaron Skinner on the tourism committee.
Thank you. Look like there's another gentleman for public comment.
Yes, I have a letter.
What?
Can you hear me?
Mr. Anderson is actually someone at the podium currently. And then I could call on you next.
Okay.
So.
Oh, red, that makes sense. It's serious now. My name is Peter Zambon. I am a representative from Pelican, town of Pelican, and I am the chair or director of the Pelican Promotions Committee, the Room Tax Collections Committee for our town. And I would just like to echo a lot of what's been said today in support of Aaron Skinner. I believe that although she may not be fresh, in some people's view, I think that she is current and she knows what it is to be in our industry. I think that we all have very direct connection to the tourists in the area for obvious reasons. And I think that she represents us well. So I just wanted to come and support that and remind us all that we're in contact with the visitors pretty closely all the time. So, we know what's going on. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson, you had some public comment?
Yes, thank you. I have received a letter from Nancy Richmond and Jeff Harriet. They say, we enthusiastically support the proposed resolution supporting the establishment of a conservation easement for the Pelican River Forest. Conservation easements on the Pelican River Forest will ensure continued sustainable management of this extensive area while providing public access. We are Rhinelander residents who are regularly active in a variety of outdoor recreation activities in forest lands neighboring our town. We strongly support managed use and conservation of our natural resources as essential for both the present and the future. I ask you to vote in favor.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Not seeing. Moving on to number 5, which is mayor's comments. We have a scheduled meet and greet with the city clerk, which would be on April 26th, which is a Wednesday at 5 p.m. here on the second level of City Hall. Moving on to number 6, which is a city administration report. Patrick?
Yeah, no report outside of what was submitted.
Okay. Moving on to number 7, public hearing does not apply for this meeting. Moving on to number 8A, discuss and/or action for the second reading of proposed ordinance 2023-2, payment of special assessments. Mr. Holt.
Thank you. I would like to move for approval of second reading of proposed ordinance 2023-2, payment of special assessments, as presented by a city attorney, and who we pay a lot of money to write ordinances for us, and who has, at the risk of embarrassing him, many years of experience in doing so in small towns across Wisconsin.
Is there a second?
Daniel, second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Well, I submitted, I hope you all had a chance to read the paper I wrote up outlining the things that I think are still problems with this document as written. I've had and tried to have numerous conversations with Mr. Sorensen by mail and some by email, and sometimes have gotten answers and sometimes not. But I hope you just look at whether some of it makes sense, like that paragraph 5 at the end. I think at least you ought to ask for an explanation of what it means.
Mr. Holt?
Thank you. I do respect the diligence of my colleague, Mr. Anderson, with regard to this. I have been on city council since we hired Steve Sorensen as our city attorney, and I have found him to be not only very diligent with regard to explaining why things are worded the way they are, but also very respectful of the fact that attorneys' fees cost the city quite a bit. And I think that it's important that that be known. When we discuss things that oftentimes come down to style and oftentimes come down to word preference, that this does not happen in a vacuum and doesn't happen for free. I'm not trying to dissuade a positive, good conversation, discussion about the wording of ordinances, but I do feel compelled to point out that it's not without cost.
Mr. Sorensen, since your name was mentioned, I don't know if there's anything you want to comment on? If you want.
Yeah, I would respond that I've attempted to respond to numerous emails, as Mr. Anderson has indicated. It was getting to the point that we were just spinning, because I don't necessarily view things exactly the same way Gerald does, but he's a member of the council, so he gets to vote on this. I can only propose what I think is a logical, workable system that integrates with your current ordinance. Ultimately, if you do pass this, it'll have to be blended back in with your current ordinances. And yes, there may be some numerical changes and there may be some specific words that are needed to make it blend. But I think the important thing that's here right now is the purpose of this ordinance. And the purpose of this ordinance, which I've said from the beginning, is to give you an alternative that you currently don't have. Right now, your ordinance is very clear that if you put in a sewer and water system, you must assess the property owners immediately, whether they hook up or not. But on the other side of the coin is you can force them to hook up because you also have an ordinance that says anybody that's on a street that is serviced by sewer and water must hook up. Well, this was an attempt by me to facilitate a methodology that would allow somebody that has a working septic and well system to continue to maintain that, with the understanding that if that system ever failed, that it's probably in their best interest to connect to the city, and in fact, they would have to be like everyone else in the city. But that it would give them the opportunity, if you, as council members, decided that there's no real reason to force them to hook up. Now, one of the things that Mr. Anderson continually brings up is well, what about this situation? What about that situation? What about... I can't imagine every possible situation, so I try to write the ordinance in such a flexible manner that you can, as a council, take every situation on its own merits. I mean, this is a unique situation. There's many factors that are unique, and you as a council should have the ability to establish standards that you feel comfortable with on the given facts and circumstances. You know, the day may come that everybody has a private well. I don't know that, and neither does anybody on this council. We may have a whole different way of getting rid of sewage. We don't know that. But for right now, this, I think, is a very workable ordinance, and it does give you an opportunity to address the issue of the people that have been coming here week after week asking for some way to address it. Well, now you've given them a way if you pass this ordinance. If you don't pass this ordinance, then as your city attorney, I'm obligated to tell you I've got to start enforcement. And I really don't want to have to do that, but I have a responsibility not only to the city, but to the legal system that we operate in. And that's where you don't ignore the law. You either change the law so that it reflects to the situation and things before you, or you ignore it. But I'll never be in favor of ignoring it. I'll always be in favor of changing or implementing as it exists. And that's what you hire me to do. So that's my position statement.
Mr. Barnett?
I'm in agreement with Alderperson Holt. Second guessing our city attorney week or meeting after meeting on resolutions and bills and whatever else he writes every single time is getting a little daunting. That's not to say that if there is something that needs to be addressed, to not address it, but a lot of this does come down to just the way things are being said, different styles, different verbiage usage, mostly just personal preference on how it should be stated. And I'm in favor of relying on our city attorney that we pay a lot of money to actually do his job. And if there is something blaring that needs to be changed, to discuss it with him and get it changed before the council meeting. And if there is a bypass to where a alderperson and the attorney cannot come to an agreement, then it will be up to council to agree or disagree. The whole thing, if you don't agree with what the resolution says, then vote no when we vote. That's within your power. So I am in full favor of relying on Mr. Sorensen's expertise on writing our resolutions.
Mr. Jopek?
So from the get-go, I basically just want to clarify on the ordinance to make sure that it's doing a few things to, I guess, what I foresee or perceive as protect especially citizens that are within my district. And so I have a few questions that just are clarification questions that I'm pretty sure I know the answer to, but I'm keeping it public. The first one is, with the new ordinance, we are allowed to vote to defer any special assessment until the time of hookup, which is the intent of the ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But you got to pass the ordinance first.
Yes, have to pass the ordinance first, yes. But I'm just clarifying. My one thing that I did notice in Mr. Anderson's post, and this is not necessarily related to this ordinance, but one that we might want to look at is his number 8 talks about the 12% interest rate. I would like to, I am for this ordinance as is. I like the way it reads. It gives us the way to work through this situation. but I also, reading through Municode and seeing the 12%, I just want to clarify those things in the future. So, but as far as what we've asked to be done, I see it as being done, and I'm in favor of it as well.
Yeah, let me comment on the 12%. That's currently what the Wisconsin statutes are suggesting you utilize. But you got to remember that a lot of these ordinances were written when interest rates, home interest rates were 22% on a mortgage. And so you certainly have the right before you'd go. And for example, let's say you do Olson and you say, let's defer. Once you pass the ordinance, then you got to go back to Olson. You could say, but we're going to make it 4% for the next 5 years. You have that flexibility under this ordinance.
And just to clarify, by deferring, we're not subjecting the owners of the houses to a growing interest rate before they hook up.
Not
correct?
unless, excuse me, I'll wait till you're done.
No, you're good.
Yeah, not unless you put that in your deferral agreement you have with them, which you certainly could do. That's up to you as a council, but this allows you to do that.
With that, clerk, please take the roll call.
I wanted to ask some more.
Sure, just because,
Sure, I just-
Mr. Addison, just to let you know, we don't have a visual, so whenever you would like to speak up, just speak. That way I know you want to.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's not, I'm not getting the visual to work. But, there it is. I'm certainly in favor of having an ordinance that we can use to deal with the Olson Lane situation. I'm not opposed to that idea. I just don't think the way it's written is exactly what we need. And I don't want it to, I don't see it as a personal thing between me and Mr. Sorensen, and I don't want it to be personal between me and any other council members, but I just like to see that things are written well and understandable. And I guess I want to ask Mr. Sorensen again, doesn't that paragraph 5 say that it can only be deferred 1 year?
No.
Well, it's sort of a weird way to say it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, clerk, please take the roll call.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Leanne Felton.
Aye.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
Tom Kelly.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Nay.
David Holt.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Stephen Jopek.
Aye.
Okay, with that, motion passes. Moving on to 8B, discuss and/or action a second reading of proposed ordinance 2023-3 adopting of the International Property Maintenance Code.
Holt, I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of proposed ordinance 2023-3 adoption of International Property Maintenance Code.
Daniel, second.
Any discussion? Not seeing. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Carrie Mikulowski.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Stephen Jopek.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Leanne Felton.
Aye.
Tom Kelly.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to 9, unfinished business. We have none that applies. Moving on to 10A, discuss and/or action a common council meeting minutes from March 27th.
Holt, I'll make a motion to approve common council meeting minutes from March 27th, 2023.
Jopek second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Minutes are approved. Moving on to 10B, discuss and/or action of Plan Commission meeting minutes from March 7th.
Daniel, make a motion to approve Plan Commission meeting minutes from March 7th, 2023.
Holt, second.
Any discussion? Not seeing. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Abstain? Nay? Motion approved. Moving on to 10C, discuss and/or action of paying the bills and claims of the amount of $1,418,759.42.
Daniel, make a motion to pay bills and claims in the amount of $1,418,759.42.
Holt second.
Any discussion? Not seeing, clerk, please take the roll call.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
Stephen Jopek,
Aye.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
Karen Mikulowski,
Aye.
Tom Kelly,
Aye.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
David Holt,
Aye.
Leanne Felton.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to 10D, discuss and/or action of Resolution 2023-9, resolution in supporting the establishment of a conservation easement for the Pelican River Forest.
Jopek motion to approve the resolution supporting the establishment of a conservation easement for the Pelican River Forest.
Mikulowski second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly?
I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a better idea if we postponed this or tabled this item until we find out what the county board's direction is going to take, and that will be on May 23rd's county board meeting. It'll be on the agenda. There's a subcommittee that has been formed to investigate. We didn't get enough facts. We got the information on Friday, and all of a sudden Tuesday we're in a meeting discussing this. But I'm wondering if it wouldn't be advisable to table this until we find out what the county's going to lead to. That's all.
Mr. Holt?
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of that, and I didn't take that as a motion, so I'm assuming it was not a motion. I am in favor of passing this, and it's a resolution in support of that, so it's a resolution supporting the intent. Not necessarily all the details, as we don't know all of the details or all of the information, but it is showing intent. I very much appreciate a lot of the information presented in public comment by people who have backgrounds in natural resources and forestry, etc. I have a background in rural sociology, which does deal considerably with land management, and I would agree that land should be utilized. It may seem counterintuitive in some ways, but when properly managed, land that is utilized is healthier. So I think that I don't have a problem going ahead and stating a resolution in support, even though we don't have all of the details of how the end easement conservation program is going to look.
Ms. Mikulowski?
Yeah, the whole reason why I brought this forward is so that when the county board did meet, that they would already have our support, knowing that the council supports this. So to wait for them to already make a decision kind of mutes this whole point. So that's the reason I brought it forward to this meeting, is so that we as a council can determine if we are in support of it or not. The county board obviously is the entity that makes the decision on it, not this group. So so that's why I would prefer to go on with the motion that's stated.
Mr. Jopek?
Additionally, we're the city of Rhinelander, and so we're just trying to vocalize what our point of view is on the whole issue. And so as a council, regardless of what the county does or chooses to do, I think this resolution shows them that we are in support of this, and we've looked at it. I mean, I've done plenty of research outside of this, aside from the professionals and experts here, and so for me, I don't need to wait on the county to tell me what to think about it.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I want to support this resolution as well. I don't think there's a problem with lack of facts. I think there's pretty much misinformation out there, but we've had people that help dispel that. We heard from them tonight. I went to a meeting outside of Monaco on this topic. The town most concerned, I suppose, with the situation. And a lot of people that I was expecting to be opposed to it were merely asking questions about access, especially. They wanted to know if they would be able to access this land. It's really a win-win, and it does not involve government takeover of land. This is a private sale by this organization. The only place where the state comes in is a little bit of the funding for the easement, and that's not a reason to reject the whole thing by any means. So, like any recreational opportunities in the county, I think we ought to support them because the city is going to get some benefit from that.
I'm not seeing any other discussion. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Leanne Felton,
Aye.
Tom Kelly,
Aye.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
Karen Mikulowski,
Aye.
Stephen Jopek,
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Moving on to 10E. Discuss and/or action for Resolution 2023-10 approving the purchase of benches, tables, trash barrels for Hodag Park and Stevens Sports Square. In your packet, that would start on page 33 and go to page 38. I don't know if Randy's in. I'd like to defer to Randy, our Public Works Director, on this topic.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what is it you would like me to speak on?
This is regarding the benches, the tables for Hodag Park and Stevenport Square.
Yes, we have set out for bids and we received 3 back. We do propose to make a purchase on new benches primarily for Hodag, but we would be putting some and a table or 2 in the square on Brown Street as well.
Was there any questions or discussions by council? Would entertain a motion of any kind.
Barnett, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-10, approving the purchase of benches, tables, and trash barrels for Hodag Park and Stevensport Square.
Hold second.
Just for clarification, so what you're saying is all of the potential purchases, you're approving all of them? Because there was maybe this, maybe that, or all of them. So I just want the public to know.
Clarifying that is correct. That was my motion's intent.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I seconded it.
Correct. With that, clerk, please take the roll call.
Eileen Daniel,
Aye.
David Holt,
Aye.
Tom Kelly,
Aye.
Stephen Jopek,
Aye.
Thomas Barnett,
Aye.
Gerald Anderson,
Aye.
Leanne Felton,
Aye.
Karen Mikulowski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to 10F, which is discuss and/or action for the appeal of snow removal violation at 1368 Eagle Street. I believe, Austin, oh, okay. Mike, if you'd like to come forward. Nope, you have to hit the button, sir. There you go.
My name is Mike Skubal. I'm 78 years old. I live on Social Security. I've had a heart valve and 2 stents recently. I'm not allowed to shovel snow, my doctor's orders. I've owned the property at 1368 Eagle for 10 years with no complaints. Because I can't shovel, I have a young man and his crew take care of my yard and sidewalks year-round. They've done it for 3 years. I have a corner lot, 50 feet on the front, 150 feet of sidewalk on the side. I didn't see any photos of the 150 feet sidewalk. I assume that was okay, or there would have been more photos. The date given for cleaning my walk was March 20th. I was out of town for 2 weeks previous and got home the evening of the 19th. I didn't check the sidewalks that evening. I called my young men after I got your bill. He stated they had done the sidewalks on Friday the 17th. Do you know about the city plowing on my corner? I usually have 2 guys come twice because the plows throw it over the snowbanks on the front of my house onto the sidewalk, and they shovel me in on my driveway and side entrance. They get going fast. I don't have my front porch shoveled because nobody uses it. Everybody knows to come to my side door. If you had knocked on my door, I would have answered it and had the guys come within an hour. When I talked to the fellow who said when I talked to the fellow who wrote the ticket or whatever, he said there was a statute and I'm not the only one, which evidently I'm not. Thank you. I don't know how you proceed from here.
So since we are department supervisor for this is, we pay him by the hour since he's not an employee, he's an independent contractor. We have our fire chief, Brian, who was involved with this to speak on it.
Good evening, council. Just to kind of go through how this works is our code enforcement officer he goes out 24 hours after a major snow event. Any snow that's shovelable in the ordinance 3.1.05, you have 24 hours following completion of any snowfall. Said sidewalks shall be kept reasonably clear as to allow for safe pedestrian traffic. Pedestrian access to any corner intersection must also be kept clear as described above. Upon failure to remove said snow and or ice, the city may summarily remove any snow or ice and cause the cost of said removal to be charged to the owner. So the request went out. The snowfall event that we're referring to happened from March 11th to March 13th. We had 10.5 inches of snow. The request for the order went to the city on 3/17, so that's well over the 24-hour time period after the snow event. And then it wasn't completed, as you can see in the packet there on page 41 for this property. It was completed on 3/20, so that's another 72 hours after. So you're talking 8 days after the snow event, technically, for that to be removed, that snow to be removed on this property, 1368.
I have a question. I know similar with lawn grass, when we come to cut the property's grass, we give them a notification on their door. Is that similar for snow removal, or what does the ordinance say regarding notification?
Yeah, so notification is done on the door, and there should be a letter sent out to the property owner as well.
For snow removal? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Jopek?
Who sends out that letter?
Code enforcement. Yeah. And then it's entered into facility dude, which is our system ordering work orders, where they go, and then that goes to streets, and then streets sends somebody out to take care of it.
Sir, was this letter sent to you? Mr. Skubal? Did you receive a letter regarding the snow removal?
Either your speakers are fuzzy or my ears are. I think I'm getting old.
Okay, did you receive a letter regarding shoveling your sidewalks after the 17th, as Mr. Tenacore had?
Did I receive what?
A letter?
Yes, I got a letter.
You got a letter.
A bill.
Did you get a letter prior to the bill? Okay.
No, I got an invoice.
Okay. Chief, is he supposed to get a letter prior to the invoice, giving him a chance to rectify the situation before he is fined?
By ordinance, we don't have to give him a letter or any kind of notification. It's just 24 hours after the snow event by the ordinance.
And are there...
That's policy that's been set in the ordinance.
I have a question, just in general about clearing sidewalks. Is there a route that our person takes to see if sidewalks are cleared? Because I will say the sidewalks in my neighborhood were bad for months. So I'm really doubting that everybody on that whole stretch of Oneida Avenue got letters or fines.
Yeah.
So I
can't speak to that.
These are always tough for me.
Right. These are tough for everybody. I can't. If our code enforcement officer was out there and doing nothing but sidewalks all day, every day, he'd have a full-time job just in that. We'd have we'd be able to employ somebody just on that, right?
Can you remind the general public what the fine is if they don't shovel their sidewalks?
I believe.
Oh, I'm sure you know what it is, sir.
$150? $150.
$150.
$150, yeah.
And if somebody lives on a corner lot, are they charged twice that?
No.
Okay.
It's per
So
parcel.
it's per parcel.
Correct.
Okay. So so there's no additional penalties for folks who live on corners if they don't take care of that little entrance onto the sidewalk or anything like that.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And
just curious.
I could shed some light on one of your questions regarding how the code enforcer goes about his day. A lot of it's based on complaints he receives through Laserfish or in passing. So for the most part, it's a complaint-based response unless something's very obvious, to him as he's driving around.
I guess the reason, if I can continue, okay, I guess the reason why I'm asking is it seems catch as catch can, right? So if we've got neighborhoods that haven't been touched or it's just, but he just happens to drive by Mr. Schoolball's house, I have a hard time with that. It just, somebody just happens to see, our inspector just happens to see that that needs to be done. Did we receive a complaint about Mr. Schoolball's property?
I believe so.
You
I'd have
believe
to
so?
refer to Mr.
Okay.
Melvin on that.
That's the reason I'm asking. Is it, does it just happens that our inspector had to be there, or was there a specific complaint?
So larger events like this, we don't go out and try to be so proactive on them because it's something that would be so time consuming to our man hours. So most of those are complaint based for us.
Ms. Michalowski.
Yeah, I just want to remind council that we have ordinances for a reason. And, if we continue to try to make special arrangements for every person who either gets cited for not following ordinances, I mean, we're never gonna, it's gonna continually be a revolving door. So I make a motion to deny this request from Mr. Scuball for the city to.
So there's a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second so that I can discuss.
Okay, Mr. Barnett.
This is always a tough one for me as well, because I understand we have ordinances for a reason, and I do believe that if ordinances are not enforced, then they lose their teeth, which is in place to make sure that the city is doing what it needs to do to continue on. I will say that if we decide to deny the claim, and I can understand both sides of it, that we need to revisit this policy and come up with a better way, if that means making sure that it is policy, that a letter is sent out. I understand that, it's in the ordinance, but I'd like to take a ride around town and ask how many people actually know any of the ordinances in the town. Two, I have an elderly neighbor. She lives approximately 2 doors down. She called me up at my home, completely frantic and worried out of her mind. She too is on a fixed income, and she had no possible way of cleaning her sidewalk with the last snowfall we got on April 1st. It took me 6 hours to get out of my little 20-foot driveway because of all the snow, and it wasn't light stuff, it was heavy. I personally grabbed my snowblower and did her sidewalk for her because it really bothered me that she was scared of the city. I mean, what is that? When you have residents that are literally calling up an alderperson, terrified that the city's going to come and harass them, that bothers me a lot. So I do understand the ordinances, I do understand they're in place, but I think we need to revisit it and come up with a better way of doing it.
Mr. Holt?
So this is a tough one for me too, both because of what Mr. Barnett just alluded to, and thinking of my own experiences with snow that falls in very inconvenient times for me, for one reason or another, and also what Eileen said, that the sort of seeming randomness of it. I do think it might behoove us, regardless of which way this particular vote goes, to revisit this idea. The question that comes in my mind is habitual offense versus a handful of bad, just a bad sequence of events, having been somebody who's had the flu when a huge snowfall hits. Something like that, a single time, can happen to anybody. So I do think that a degree of grace, even with policies. Yes, I do know we have ordinances for a reason, we have rules for a reason, but justice also takes some degree of discretion as well. So I do understand that it's a tough case, and we don't want to appear simply to waive anything if somebody's willing to show up and appeal. But I do think that it's worth considering on the face value of it.
Mr. Jopek?
There was a time before I was a city councilman when I would drive by houses and I would ask what the point of an ordinance was, because sidewalks were not cleared within 24 hours or so on. And so I can speak additionally to kind of the ad hoc. I mean, there's no way we can enforce consistently. It's nothing on us being complacent. It's just not possible. And so for me, when it comes to enforcing this, I guess I have more questions about notifications, and if it's a complaint system. I've heard horror stories about neighbors, and if a neighbor were to complain about my yard, I would really like to have the opportunity to revisit the issue and resolve it before I'm levied, especially on a fixed income with a $150 fine. And so in my case, the way I see this is if there's a complaint, we notify the resident, so that they have an opportunity and then inspect it, or something along those lines. That way, in the case of Mr. Barnett's case, a resident doesn't feel like we are coming to get them, but at the same time is given the warning like, hey, you need to get this done. I remember when I lived in Merrill, that's what would happen. We'd be out of town and there'd be like a note on the door that just said like, hey, just so you know, this is like a 24-hour notice that this needs to get done. And if it doesn't, then this fine is going to be hefty, whatever. I don't know how to go resolve that, but in that case, I just don't agree with the system. I understand ordinances are there for a reason. I'm all for an enforcement. At the same time, I'm not for, we talk about transparency and we talk about, letting people know what's going on. To me, this would be one of those where it's like, I'd prefer to not spend $150 on this. And so I wouldn't be for the motion to assess the fee. At this point, in the future, I'd like to revisit the rules.
Ms. Daniel?
I would like to tag on to what Mr. Jopek just said here about notification prior to fining. I do believe we need to revisit the ordinance and take a look at our process in administering those fines. I do agree that we do need to have these ordinances in place to make sure that these things aren't abused. But again, it's the seemingly randomness of this that just, and then if just to have a better process in place so that folks know that if you don't shovel your sidewalk, somebody's going to knock on your door, or they're going to leave a note on your door and say, hey, look, there's been a complaint about your property. You have 48 hours to rectify it. If we come back in 48 hours and it still hasn't been done, you'll be levied a fine and we'll take care of it. And hey, by the way, here's a list of folks who can do it for you if you can't, right? These folks will cost you $60. The city's it's gonna cost you $150. So maybe we help out some small business owners as well to get them some jobs shoveling snow, snow plowing, whatever.
Ms. Michalowski?
First of all, my opinion is by enforcing an ordinance, that's not harassing the constituents. Living in the city, you're expected to know what the ordinances are. It's listed on our website, which obviously I know is not the easiest to maneuver, but you know that for public safety, you have to clear your sidewalks. So what would you rather have them get a fine for $150 or get sued because somebody fell on their sidewalk and broke a hip and had to have surgery and now it's thousands of dollars? So this is a public safety issue. It's not us picking on any particular resident. And we have one code enforcer. He can't possibly manage a city this size going down every single street 24 hours after a snowstorm to determine if they've been shoveled or not. At this point, we only have enough city staff in order to use the system we have in place, which is right now a complaint-based system. So I understand if we want to change the ordinance later, but currently this is what the ordinance says. And I'm all for looking at it afterwards, but I don't think that there should be special permissions just because we don't like the way the ordinance is. Otherwise, you're going to have everybody coming in here and appealing their their fine because we're setting a precedence with this. So that's how I feel about it. This is a public safety issue.
Mr. Jopek?
So for me, the way I see it, and I do agree it is a public safety issue, at the same time, it's also a communication issue. The difference between me and Mr. Skubal, or my neighbor and Mr. Skubal, is that I was a neighbor that chose not to call in on my blockmate. And so at the end of the day, we have one that's getting enforced and one that's not. Two, I wasn't here when the ordinance was made, and I don't agree with the method of it. And so if it doesn't start here, where does it start? I mean, sure, we could start after we charge residents $150 on a case, but I guess I'm of the opinion that now that I'm here, before I assess any more damage or cost to anybody else in the constituency, I'm going to step up and make sure it's resolved first before, levying whatever the cost is. And so that's, I guess, my take on it. I do agree, I understand, but I also, there's extenuating circumstances, and on top of that, it's a complaint-based system. It rewards the complainers. A squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so maybe we can do better with our one code enforcement officer to just send a notification to have it resolved for everybody and not put people in budgetary stress.
The only other thing I would put for people to keep in mind is our code enforcer position's been around for less than 6 months, and most of our ordinances are way over 6 months of age. So this is something we're going to see time and time and again as our code enforcer starts to see ordinance violations and bring them forward. It's also to this body to decide how we change said ordinances moving forward.
Chris, I've got to interject because I thought this was on the agenda just as a discussion. You as a council have no ability to take away that fine. There's nothing in this ordinance that would permit you to change an ordinance after the fact. Those laws are unconstitutional. You can't do ex post facto laws. You cannot take away this fine. Now, I can tell the gentleman who doesn't want to pay the fine that what he can do is not pay the fine. Then he can go to circuit court, because that's the procedure we have in the United States of America on how, if you don't like a fine that's been imposed against you. Do you understand what you're doing as a council? You're suggesting that the police department, every time somebody gets a ticket for speeding, they can come here to you as a council and say, I don't like the way you enforce the... No, Stephen, that's the law in Wisconsin. And the reality is, you have to understand that there is a remedy at law. The remedy is to go to circuit court, and I'm sure the chief will tell you as much as I will tell you. We sit there as prosecutors, or we sit there as wishing judges didn't listen to the story, but they'll probably listen to the story, and they may well say, we're not going to make you pay the fine. But you can't take a responsibility that in the American system of jurisprudence is not your responsibility. This statute was passed, whether it was passed by council 25 years ago or one last week. It is the law of the land until it is changed, and you have to uniformly enforce the law. And that's what you're doing here. You're opening up Pandora. Well, first of all, you couldn't legally do it. And I have to tell you that, because that's the law, and as your city attorney, that has to be enforced. Certainly, you can go to circuit court, you can say, I'm not going to pay the fine, and let a judge change the fine. But that's the same thing that happens to everybody that gets a citation from the city. Every police officer citation, you have the ability to go to court and say, I'm not going to pay it, I don't owe it, and then a judge will make that decision. And I'm sorry to make that sound so hard and cold, but that's the American system of justice. That's what we all bought into.
Mr. Barnett?
First, I'd like to say that I completely understand where you're coming from, Mr. Sorensen, and I agree. Secondly, I'd like to say that our code enforcer, he's doing his job. He has ordinances that he has to go out and follow. He's going to enforce the ordinances. Unfortunately, we do have that complaint-based policy, and that's just how our city happens to work because we have so few people. My suggestions were completely after the fact. I don't like the ordinance the way it's written. I think there needs to be more open communication, and I feel like this case brings to light the problems with the ordinance. So moving forward on the next agenda, I would like to see something on there as far as changing this ordinance to better notify constituents of these issues and finding a better way forward with it. I am in no means saying that we should backpedal on our ordinances, because that is it. It is an ordinance and it needs to be followed. Doesn't mean I have to like it, but we as policymakers have the power to change that stuff that we don't like. Unfortunately, the ordinance is what it is right now, and now that these kind of issues have arisen with the ordinance, then that's basically where I'm standing on this. And I thank Dave, our code enforcer, for doing the job that most people want to throw eggs at him for.
Mr. Jopek?
I just want to clarify on the our agenda. It says discussion, action, appeal of snow removal. So I was under the understanding. I don't understand why this is even coming to the council if this is none of our business. Again, we can do whatever we want, vote. I mean, as far as that goes, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it is addressed, that we do talk about that ordinance to make sure this doesn't happen again. And also, I'd like some clarification on spots F and G as far as why a discussion/action appeal of snow removal violation for those two locations is on ours if it has nothing to do with us, and it actually puts us in constitutional issues, violating, hopping index post facto and whatnot. And so, I guess I'd like some clarification as to what the expectation is for us and why it's on the agenda in the first place. Thanks.
Sure. I was instructed to put this on here. The idea was to bring it here. Obviously, a mistake was made. So Do apologize, but that was how I've done it in other communities. But Mr. Sorensen has taught me a lesson here today, like I think he's taught a lot of people on this dais. Mr. Barnett, you talked about communicating. Actually, a few of you talked about communicating. One of the things we did in other communities were door knockers. You basically put something over the handle. There you go. It says, call me. Here it is before a citation is given out. I apologize. I'm still learning the Rhinelander system. So this is my 9th week. So I'm still learning how everything is done here. But there's lots of improvements that can be made. No doubt about it. And I love the fact that you're going to discuss this. I don't know if it'd be through an ad hoc committee or if you're just looking for staff to provide answers.
Mr. Holt?
Yeah, there are some cases, specific cases where something can be appealed to council. Obviously not this. So when I read it, that's what the word that I keyed off on. I really appreciate that Steve Sorensen addressed that and let us know that. So what we're really, the intention of this was to discuss whether we want to revisit the ordinance and move in a different direction. Is that correct? That this was about just simply discussing, raising a potentially an ordinance that we might want to revisit?
It was that, and it was also requested by the resident to bring it before this body too, for knowledge.
Okay, understood. So the original motion and second would not be valid, and we would want to have those repealed then, right?
I believe the motion and second was to deny.
Right, I understand, but we don't have any, we don't have standing to do either.
I would refer to our attorney for that.
Frankly, you've discussed it, you've expressed yourselves, that's what you're meant to do. I think the withdrawal of the motion is probably the proper procedure, and then you go forward. You know, just as Patrick has indicated, I probably should have caught it myself. And you're right, there are certain things that can be appealed to the council, but this isn't one of them. So we should just move on to the other topics. And I think I've instructed the gentleman what he needs to do if he doesn't want to pay the $150. And let me tell you, there'll be plenty of people that show up in court to say they don't want to pay their fines. And I'm sure that both the chief and the chief can tell you how that works.
Ms. Michalowski?
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay, motion withdrawn. So then we'll be moving on to 10G, which is the same. I'm assuming no action from this body is the plan. Not seeing any objections. Moving on to 10H, discussion. So this is discussion only, City of Rhinelander fire inspections. So this was based on, it's a two-part topic. One is, this was requested by a local business owner, and then two would be to help give our fire chief some direction of moving forward, how would we like to proceed.
So what would you say? Translate, would you? Why would I, when I contested this, why was I told to come here?
Because we made a mistake, sir, and we apologize to you for that. And we'll explain to you in detail. In fact, I'll be...
No, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to H, first, we'll have our fire chief and then possibly the business owner if they choose to speak on the topic.
Do you want to speak again? Go ahead.
Well, I don't really have much to say, I already said.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to know how much time there is to get things done and where we stand with all that.
Okay.
Just not the papers, That's all I'm asking for. So I got some information.
So the request is obviously to discuss our fire inspections and how our fire inspections work. So just to clarify what's happening is in the month of March, Rhinelander Fire Department conducts our liquor license inspections for all facilities within the city that holds a liquor license. So we go to every bar, every store, any establishment that has a liquor license. We do it in the month of March so that we give business owners the opportunity to rectify any kind of deficiencies that we find in their business before it comes before this body July 1st is when the liquor licenses are approved every year, and this body approves those. So we have to make sure that we give it our due diligence, get through there and do our part of the inspection along with the police department. They do their part of the inspection as well. That in turn gets passed on to the city clerk. Then the city clerk puts everything together, and then he gets the licenses together for you, and that's when you vote on it prior to that July 1st meeting. As part of that, Porky's is on our route. We have a route that the different shifts that's split up between the different shifts, and it's based upon geographical location. So one shift will have, the Brown Street, one shift will have some of Rives going the other way, and it's sectioned off. The shift that went to Porky's went there on March 30th, and you can see on the packet that I gave you the orders that they wrote. They went there at 10 a.m., came back and expressed to me that there was some concerns with some of the deficiencies that they found in the establishment. This is not abnormal for my shift to approach me and let me know that there's something that is outside of their scope of practice as a fire inspector, and they're not comfortable continuing on an inspection. At that point in time, they asked me if I would come and inspect the facility with them, which we called back over to the bartender and asked her if we could come back at 1 o'clock and meet. And we requested that the manager be present then. We came back at 1 o'clock, and Mr. Davis was there. And my crew walked me through the facility and showed me their concerns, which you can see are in the pictures. We took a picture of all the deficiencies. The only deficiencies that the pictures did not upload correctly for the storage around the water heater and the furnace, which I can assure you that it's combustibles that are packed right up tight to the water heater and the furnace, which is against code. We have a history of, and it's the way I work and the way I'm looking at this is I'm looking for compliance first, and for anything that we try to do. Compliance is part of life safety. We have people in and out of these bars at all hours, or any of these establishments within the city at all hours. My job as the fire chief is to make sure that anybody that goes into that bar comes out of that bar or that establishment alive and safe, and that I never have to send a firefighter in there and worry that they might not come out of there alive or safe because of the fire deficiencies that are within those buildings. One of their main concerns and their major concerns was an illegal lock on the back door, which is a deadbolt that we couldn't get to open on our own, and the back door was frozen shut. There was about an inch of ice in front of the door that had to be chipped away. So that was a very serious issue for us because that's their second method of egress out of the facility. We asked for that to be done right away. I followed up. I did say that this is what is within our rights. My rights as the fire chief is to, technically, I could shut you down. I could pull your liquor license. I could condemn the property if I feel that there is a life safety issue at this property. So yes, we had that conversation because I think it's important for people to understand, business owners, managers, supervisors, workers, the importance of abating these deficiencies and in a timely manner, not just we'll get to it when we get to it. We got a new owner, the new owner's gonna put some money into it 3, 4, or 5 weeks down the road or whenever. No, it needs to be done now, and there's a reason for it. I want you to remember that most codes and standards that we follow and guidelines that we follow are reactionary. It's because there's a reason for them, because something happened. There's a lot of them are proactive as well, but most of them are reactive. So my focus as the fire chief for this city is compliance and safety of our residents. So when I go to these establishments, when my crews come to me and tell me that they have a concern with something that they're inspecting and it has to do with life safety, then I'm gonna go in there and I am gonna ask for compliance. And I'm gonna work with the property owners as best I can, but when it is a life safety issue, time is never gonna be on our side. So yes, I will be a little bit more heavy-handed when it comes to a life safety issue. And that's kind of what we're doing here. You can see in the pictures that I've given you, this has gone on for a couple weeks now. And as of this morning, you see the one lone page. I took pictures of the back door again this morning, and there's probably 20, 30, 35 garbage bags stacked up in front of that back door. That's that back door. That's that back exit door. 30 bags of garbage.
Yeah. Guess what? We can't get it out of there. Because the bar next door, they haven't done anything with that bar next door. Everything's in the way. How are we gonna get it out?
So we are working with another property owner back in that area where we have issued orders for them to abate that. So this is how we're working our way through the compliance. Sunset is the one next door to that. We are working with them. You can see in those photos as well, that walkway, that little alleyway leading up there, the trailer in the way there. That trailer wasn't always right there. You can see that in the pictures too. There was a little walking path. Now that trailer blocks all the access. So that's the egress path out into the open exit way for all the people that are in Sunset or Porky's too. So now we end up with people stacked up in the back, say they have a very busy night. We end up with people stacked up possibly in between those buildings, worst case scenario. And that's what I'm trying to keep from happening here.
Can I say a few words? Here's the deal.
Mr. Mayor?
If you could just come to the mic before we have it recorded.
When the officer was there, when the fire department man was there, is all I kept hearing out of him when he came was, oh, we had a big fire down at Nicky Diner, so we're gonna change the world. That was what he told me as the owner. You know what? I've been in that bar for 5 years. They did fire inspections every year, okay? And they passed everything that's in there. The only thing that's violated in there, as far as I'm concerned, I had an electrician already in there, and there'll be another one in there. We plugged up 1 or 2 or 3 more plugins it's a 2-circuit outlet, and you can't have that in a 2-circuit outlet. I understand that, but we have to get Gabe or somebody in there to put some new circuits in there, which it will be done. Okay? I talked to the new owner. I can give you his phone number. You can call and talk to him. He's willing to put money into the place, do whatever it takes, whatever the fire inspector's asking for. But it don't happen overnight. You think Gabriel can just come over today? Or should I just shut my business down until then? And you know what? It's been there for 5 years like that, and they've approved it. This council and everybody else has proved that it's okay the way it is. Now all of a sudden, we shut the doors because we got a new fire chief. Oh, because there's a couple new bars in town that redid their whole bars. Yeah. I mean, this has all happened in the last month. And you know what? I'm gonna take it to court if I have to, because I'm not happy with the treatment I got. Okay? And I got a bartender that I'd love to be here, because she could tell you what she thought. She couldn't make it. So there's more, and if I have to go to court over the whole thing, I will. Believe me, and I will get the things fixed. My landlord told me he'll make sure it's done. I've talked to him, I've been on the phone. The ice in the back door, we couldn't even get back there to remove the ice because the wonderful city of Rhinelander said they were going to put an alley back there so I could have a dumpster back there that they never did. No alley, no dumpster, no nothing. The city of Rhinelander, the last guy that was
You mentioned Gabriel Electric several.
Landlord said he was gonna call Gaber.
Well, Gaber's out of business, so he's gonna have to call somebody else.
He's already talked to a couple other ones.
Okay,
He's talked to Fraser, and he talked to somebody else.
okay.
He thought Fraser was kinda high, but
Yeah, they
are
are.
there any more? No.
Mr. Barnett?
Our chief of the fire department, I hold him in high regard. I know he cares about people. I know he cares about the well-being of people. Do you currently still have combustible items pressed up against the furnace?
I don't think there is any combustibles against the furnace. Not that I
Chief?
know of.
I've
We
been,
never got a picture of it, and if there was, it'd be removed, because we've been told about that.
all right, I need to hear from the
I haven't
chief.
been back in the property, inside the property the last couple of days. My main concern has been that back exit and the rear exit and the garbage and the snow pile that's up against that.
Right,
There's a light
I will
show.
say that there's no prejudice here. There's no anything that the fire chief was doing wrong. He's in charge of the inspections. He's in charge of making sure that people are working in a safe environment. I own a business that my ice is chipped away from the back doors because I know that's a fire exit. I know that I've actually had the inspections. They do a routine inspection of my place too. And they've told me that you can't have this stuff plugged into a extension cord. It needs to be plugged directly into the wall. And they let me know that that was a violation. I fixed it. I mean, it's for the safety of people.
Sure, he just did do that. Let me know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're gonna do. And we've done that with several things already.
But the problem is that I understand where you're coming from. I do, but you got to also understand where he's coming from. I don't think he's using Dinky Diner's fire as a way to enforce things that shouldn't be enforced. I think he's using it as an eye-opener to businesses. What if you can't get an electrician out there for 6 weeks? What if a fire happens before that because of the conditions?
Well, it's been there for 4 years.
That, I'm sure Dinky Diners has been there for a long time too. But I'm just trying to relate to you. And I understand what was said, but I put my full faith in our fire chief. As he says there's a hazard there, I believe him. So, but in that time, a fire can happen.
Yeah, that's all I wanna know is what he's gonna let us do so we can figure out whether we're gonna be open for business, and maybe I'll shut down and never open again, if that's what Rhinelander wants.
Mr. Holt?
I moved back here from the Rhinelander.
Sir, I gave the floor to Mr. Holt.
I'm echoing what Mr. Jopek said. I'm having a little hard time, with all due respect to this particular issue. I'm having trouble figuring out what the council is being asked to do right now. I agree with Mr. Barnett, and I have full faith and confidence in our fire chief to do his job. So I'm not sure what he's asking for. If he's saying that these things need to be fixed before you could have patrons in a building. I too own a business and have had fire inspection come in and go through the entire business to make sure that if we're going to have customers on premises, that they are safe. And so I'm not sure what the council can do here. I would defer to whatever the fire chief's recommendation is for the safety of the citizens of this community.
Ms. Daniel, I don't know if you're still...
I just wanted to address Mr. Davis that if there has been an issue with the other bar that's behind you, causing, an obstruction of the alleyway, making it unsafe or you unable to reach your dumpsters, then that's something that needs to be brought to the city as well. And so that we can go to them, if you're not comfortable going to them directly, we can go to them and say, look, you're presenting a hazard to, another business owner, you're making it impossible for them to clear out their back, and it's a fire hazard, they're gonna get fined. So you need, you have to take a little bit of oomph to do.
And different people about everything that was blocking our way, and nobody done nothing. They come over, we had a little, I don't know if it was before him or after him, we come in, there was a little fire in our building, we put it out, okay? This happened a year ago. And they put it out, and I can show you the whole right where there was a little fire there, because the guy upstairs was dumping water intentionally down into the wiring, and he caused a fire. Guy that lived upstairs, he don't live there no more. And the landlord redid the whole upstairs already. So there's been some stuff like that going on that isn't known here to the council, So and we've turned in the place next door, I don't care. Get your stuff out of the way. And I wish the city council would do what they said and build a lot cover back there so I can put a dumpster back there. Would be nice. That's what we told, that's an alley. Nothing can be back there.
So regarding the gap parcel, if you go to Oneida County and you talk to land records, that was all one plot, which is the current site of Tilly's, what used to be Lynn's Catering, Porky's 2, and Sunset Junction. So that is not city property, it's a gap lot per Oneida County land records. Ms. Michalowski?
I think we as a council have heard both sides of this, and I think we could move on. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 10I, which would be discuss ordinance 2-05-15 room tax. This was requested by Mr. Holt, so I turn the floor over to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Multiple people have spoken on this issue. Bringing the ordinance here up to the council to identify that the ordinance does state the members of the committee that need to be, the vacancies that need to be filled, and we do have one vacancy. To echo some of what Aaron Skinner and Lauren Sackett said, the November 29th meeting of the Room Tax Committee, Aaron, Lauren, and I were all there. It was very difficult to get that contract passed. The three of us are no longer on that committee. I actually asked you for feedback numerous times and just did not get any kind of response. This is not about whether or not I'm on the committee. Patrick is the city attorney, city administrator, excuse me. Didn't mean to promote you. And it says, or designated city representative. So Patrick and I talked about that. I think it's great for Patrick to sit on that committee, and what I let him know was if he decides that he doesn't think that he is the most effective in that role, I'd be willing to step back into it. This isn't about whether or not I'm on the committee, but there is a vacancy and there's one applicant, and that applicant, I believe, has been on that committee since at least since I've been on there, and I believe that I've been on there since 2018 when I was first elected to council. I have never seen any evidence to suggest that Aaron Skinner does anything, makes any decisions other than what is best for the community in terms of promoting tourism to this area, to this region. I never felt that that committee had issues with personality, issues of any kind of conflicts of interest. I thought that it worked very well. So I don't understand why the vacancy persists. when a substantial portion of the business community here is asking for that to be rectified. Again, and I appreciate it. I thank the people who showed up. I was asked directly to bring this forth to council by members of the committee who said, is there anything that can be done here? Yes, the ordinance states that the mayor appoints, but if the mayor refuses to move forward on the single applicant who has a wealth of experience and does not exhibit any inappropriate aspect to why she would be disqualified from that, I think that if this is going to be a continued problem, then the council should consider, we have a strong council model, part-time mayor in this city, should consider the idea of granting itself some authority and power to compel the filling of vacancies if they're just not going to be done. And again, this is not at all personal. Anybody who knows me from the time I first got elected knows that I'm a policy and procedure guy. The policy is the mayor appoints. The procedure is we have an applicant. The applicant is qualified. In fact, the applicant was a long-serving member, very experienced. Why is this not happening, right? So policy, procedure. And so if this is going to continue to be a problem, I mean, this is an area, this region depends on tourism. This committee takes that money and utilizes it to promote the region, the area. And if this is going to continue to be a problem, I would ask my colleagues on the council to consider the idea that maybe the council should have some recourse. That's what checks and balances in an American system of government are for, to say, respectfully, we disagree with the way this is going right now, and have some authority to move forward on filling a vacancy. So that would be my opening statement here, and I'm happy to hear why the vacancy exists, hear what others have to say.
Sure. So a couple things, and this is more somewhat in your comments and somewhere some of the comments expressed today. The funds for this account has been allocated as of last November when we approved the budget. So those funds are being used as we speak, and they have been since the beginning of the fiscal year, and they're already in process. One could say they were delayed a couple months, 6 months in theory, based on it took us till November to get it approved. But the funds are in use as we speak. They're not tied up or not approved. As far as the board that council approved last, I do not know of any representation that was ever by DRI per the ordinance that was changed to the current ordinance. I don't know if there was something in the past, but I don't believe DRI ever had a seat on this committee. Regarding prep tax and room tax, those are two different entities, but they are somewhat connected because a prep tax is a tax we collect to help pave our roads and make bike trails, which people who are vacationing up here do pay. So I mean that they are connected. So the comments of how the prep tax being used, they are being used for roads and bike paths, which we are using, and we use almost completely every year. As far as the room tax, that is going to this committee, and it's been allocated for a 3-year contract to be spent. I just cannot appoint this applicant. If you guys move to take control and do that, I will support it. I will not stand in your way.
Could you please answer that question? Why can't you appoint an applicant that has been on this committee for a long time?
So I do not feel this person serves the best interests of this committee, and I want new blood. So I have said that multiple times, and I stand by that. If this body wants to take a motion to appoint her, I will, but I will not initiate that process.
I would like to motion to direct the city attorney to write language for a new ordinance that allows the council to appoint to fill a vacancy when the mayor refuses to fulfill that obligation.
Joe Peck, second.
Steve, I don't know if you have anything you want to say. Nope, good to go.
I have nothing to say at this point, but I understand what you're asking me to do, and I understand the direction. I'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else to discuss regarding this topic? Okay.
Question.
Mr. Jopek?
So to clarify, when will we hear about this again?
You'll get a motion from me probably within a week, at least 5 to 6 days before the
Okay,
next
so
council
that'll be
meeting.
the next step will be that. Okay, thank you.
Not seeing any other discussion topics. Moving on to 11, which... Oh, correct, yeah, so there is a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, the motion was to direct the city attorney to draft language for this ordinance that grants authority to the council to fill a vacancy on a committee when the mayor refuses to do so. Stephen Jopek seconded that.
So all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Moving on to 11, which would be our monthly reports from departments.
Daniel, make a motion to accept the monthly reports from departments as presented.
Hold second.
Any discussion? Chief?
I just want to point out, specifically on my monthly report, you would have saw there that the Wisconsin Professional Police Association, which has been around since 1932, has 10,000 active and retired members. They represent over 300 local units that they represent. This year, they were 2 of my officers, along with 2 sheriff's deputies, were nominated for an award for their life-saving efforts on evacuating people from the Timber Drive apartment fire back in April of 2022, where they evacuated 13 people and several pets. And I am proud to announce that Officer Nathan Antilla and Ryan Larson, and along with 2 sheriff's deputies, received the team award for the state of Wisconsin for all that. So I just want to specifically acknowledge how proud I am of those employees, what they did that evening. Thank you.
Is there a motion? Oh, there was a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstained? Motion approves. Moving on to 12, which is closed session. Would someone like to take us into closed session?
Barnett will make a motion to go into closed session, convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Stat Section 19.85 1E in order to deliberate on the negotiation on the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically discussing a potential development opportunity which will require negotiations on the investing of public funds or public properties.
Felton, second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not seeing. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Carrie McLowski.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Stephen Jopek.
Aye.
Gerald Anderson. Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
Leanne Felton.
Aye.
Tom Kelly.
Aye.
It is 8:05. We're going into closed session.
I'm 50.
Oh, no, I'm young. Oh, really? Oh, damn. 47 this year.
Who made the motions? Tom, who seconded your leave?
Did you second?
Joe Peck?
Oh, everybody did.
Oh. Oh, pick one. It's out of here.
It is 8:29 and we're back from closed session. Is there any kind of motions? Wow.
Dramatic exit.
So we are back from closed session. I wonder if there is any motions that body would like to present possibly tonight at the end of closed session. Ms. Daniel, I think you turned your mic on.
I'm going to see if I can read my own handwriting now. I rewrote it because it was written in 15 different paragraphs. Okay. Daniel, make a motion to have the city attorney negotiate with the current developers of the Lake Park Preserve condominiums, which is part of TID number 1, to obtain a letter of credit which will cover any potential deficiencies in the TID and release any subsequent purchasers of that property of obligations to the city under the developer's agreement executed by Lake Park Preserve LLC, period.
Hold second.
Clerk, please take the roll call on said motion.
Well, just a minute before you do that, Mayor, because we're in open session, I want you to understand that this is a positive to the city. This isn't a negative. We're not losing any money. We're preserving the value of TID 1, and it's just an alternative financing tool that's probably a more effective tool for the city at this time, and that's why I'm asking for the permission. So I thank you, Ms. Daniels.
With that, clerk, please take the roll call.
Gerald Anderson, Stephen Jopek.
Aye.
Eileen Daniel.
Aye.
Karen Mikulowski.
Aye.
Tom Kelly.
Aye.
Thomas Barnett.
Aye.
David Holt.
Aye.
Leanne Felton.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. That is all the report out of closed session. Any future agenda item requests? Not seeing. It is 8:29 and meeting adjourned.